everyone. How are you?
Morning.
You guys sound tired. How are you? Hi, my name is Tuan. So it's Tuan Lam. I'm the Chief Inspirator. It's a made-up word. So I'm the Chief Inspirator of a website called Go Inspire Go. And I'm going to tell you all about it in just a little bit, but I wanted to start off really quickly by telling you how excited I am to be here because of education. Education to me was really important because I come from a family of 5. I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, and then it's me. And we're ethnically Chinese and some French, but my parents had to screw us up. We were born in Vietnam, and they gave me a Vietnamese name, so everybody thinks I'm Vietnamese. I spelled it not phonetically, so it's T-O-A-N. So anyway, it sounds like Toan or Toan, but it's really Tuan. But education was really important. My parents in Saigon, when they had us, I was 8 months old, and what they did was, it was after the fall of Saigon, so in the late 70s, and they said, you know, we want our kids to be educated and have freedom. So what they did was they had a successful construction company in Saigon, and you know, we went from having maids and a big house and you know all the stuff to you know, we bought a boat. My dad bought a boat with some people, and we left in the middle of the night to America for freedom. And we ended up going to Indonesia for I believe like 2 years and living in a refugee camp. And then we ended up in South Sacramento. I don't know if anybody has been. How many of you guys have been to Sacramento? Okay. You guys remember anything cool about it? State capital? Okay. It's actually a cool spot. But we ended up in South Sacramento. My parents had $4 to their name, and there was 10 of us crammed into one little trailer, and we lived in the trailer park, essentially. And you just said, "Oh my God!" And it's funny because when I tell that story, my mom has a different reaction, and it's all about perspective and attitude, right? So my mom was like, "Yes, you know, we're here in America, and my kids could fulfill their American dream." You know, and we went from bad neighborhood to bad neighborhood, and you know, I saw prostitutes, I saw gangs. Our house was shot at when we eventually moved to another house in a bad neighborhood. But it wasn't like Compton. I just did a story in Compton. And, you know, I came from the hood, but it's not like Compton. But anyway, it was a pretty bad situation still. You know, I remember going to the food pantry with my mom, and we were on welfare, and I always grew up ashamed, and I never cared about really, you know, I didn't think anybody cared about my voice. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a little bit. So education for me is super important, and as a kid, I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be awesome to be a TV reporter in a big market. I ended up reporting in San Francisco after going to Wausau, Wisconsin, Midland, Texas, Fresno, and then back to San Francisco, and I reported for a TV station there, and I also concurrently hosted a show called America's Heartland on PBS, and it was syndicated on all the PBS stations statewide. And then I also was able to teach, and those were my 3 goals at the college level. So I teach at 2 universities, the Academy of Art and the University of San Francisco, and I teach multimedia, how to tell your story, on-camera stuff, anchoring, reporting, writing for TV, shooting, editing, all that. So, you know, education has been super important for me. And those 3 goals that I had, you know, a little kid in the hood who didn't think his voice was that important or didn't think that his story was that important, I was able to do all this by the time I was 30 because I share the same spirit as you guys in terms of, you know, all the Coke scholars that I've met, all the stories that I've read online. Gosh, everybody has an amazing story in this room, you know. And so I'm here to talk about inspiration. I want to inspire you to tell your story in an effective manner and in a way that inspires people to take action. And also, I'm going to delve into, you know, a few stories, and I'll get into that in just a bit. But I want you at the end to teach you guys how to quickly and efficiently tell your story, whether it's a quick elevator pitch, whether you're up here talking to people, just to kind of convey, you know, what it is that you have inside of you. Okay. So, why is storytelling so important? I wanted to start off by asking you guys, by a show of hands, and don't be shy because I know you guys are not shy people, how many of you guys really know your authentic story? When you talk to people and they say, "Who are you?" How many people know? Raise your hand high, please. Okay. And how many of you guys know how to tell that story effectively to people? Like just even when you're in the bathroom, you're meeting somebody in the bathroom. Or you're in the hallway, or you're getting lunch or something. How many of you guys can tell that story effectively, and for people to just get a snapshot of who you really authentically are and to convey that? How many of you guys can really effectively do it? And I sort of, okay, cool. A part of my story too is that, you know, I, growing up in a Chinese family too, that being, you know, I'm Asian American, but my mom is like Chinese, so she, you know, would always wanted me to, you a doctor like your sister? I say that in the most respectful way. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my cute mom in just a little bit. But she, you know, we were never, you know, they always wanted us to be like nice and quiet, and not rock the boat, be quiet. And I was like, dang, you birthed the wrong child because I'm loud. You know. And so anyway, and I was always afraid to tell my parents. Like I was ashamed to tell them, hey, you know what? I got my own scholarship to go to USF, and they paid a lot of the way. And through the Asian American Journalists Association, I got a ton of scholarships. And you know, till this day, you know, I still don't tell my mom that much because you know, there's language barriers, there's cultural barriers, there's all these things. So when people say, "Wow, you've done so much in your life, and you run this website, and you share your blogs on Huffington Post, and you pop Chopra's site, and so, what does your mom think?" And I'm like, "Well, my mom kind of doesn't know." But I tell her as much as I can. I just say I make videos to help people, and she always asks me, "You make money yet? Your business okay?" She's just like that. But anyway, so I've tried to tell my story. I'm still learning how to tell my story to my mom. And for those of you guys that know that you come from different cultures, it's different, you know. So why is storytelling important? It is so critical because I think storytelling connects every single one of us. One thing that really, to me, what really inspires me is the art of human communication. So essentially, like, you know, you may not know each other, I may not know you, but it's like when you find out about my story or I find out about your story, there's something magical that happens, and we then are able to connect with one another. Walls kind of fall down. And you know, you think, oh, he's a friend, that's my homie, you know what I mean? So back in the cave, every single culture, storytelling has been important. So back in the cavewomen days, used to put on the dress, right, and tell their stories, right? Whether it was for entertainment, whether it was just to pass on news about somebody passing away or something important happening in their tribe. And then you have the Egyptians with their hieroglyphs, right? And we're able to just have a glimpse into such rich history. And then before TV and radio, a lot of people, well, people still go to plays. How many of you guys love going to plays? Me too. Wicked was one of my favorites. But people would go to the theater, right? And they would watch stories. People live on stage, right? And how did they tell their stories? Act 1. Act 2, beat break, right, intermission, and then Act 3, so beginning, middle, end. And I'll talk a little bit more about storytelling, but each and every single culture is connected by storytelling. Okay? That's why it's so important. Why is storytelling so important nowadays in this modern world? Well, we use it for survival, right? How many of you guys have been on an interview lately, recently? I know everyone here has been on an interview because you guys are scholars, right? But you use it, and I, of course, had to get the most boring, non-multicultural. They told us last minute, just kidding. But you know, we do it. We have to tell our stories to get that job, right? When we walk through that door, what do they look at? They look at your shoe. You know, they look at how you speak, right? And they kind of size you up. But it's the content, and if you're able to share your story with them, that could be the make or break on whether or not they hire you to be a part of their team. Right? Then, on a more higher level, spiritual level, I like to call it, inspiration just ahead. When you are able to discover your power and use it to better yourself, and then you give it away, that's the essence of true joy. That's when all the magic happens. So I want to tell you 3 stories, okay? The first one is about Go Inspire Go and me. My story, how I discovered Go Inspire Go, our impact, and where we're taking it to the next level. This is totally not product placement. We just ran an Indiegogo campaign. You guys know an Indiegogo? Okay, so we just ran this campaign, and you have to give perks. It's a crowdfunding, for those of you guys who don't know, the crowdfunding campaign. We launched this huge campaign to raise $25,000 to get started on this 50-50 campaign, and essentially what we want to do is go to every single state and uncover an everyday hero. And what we do is we tell authentic stories, plus leverage social media to build community, and I believe that equals civic engagement and taking action. Okay? So you can tell a good story, and then now you guys have social media and technology. Back in the day, I didn't even have a a cell phone. I don't think they were really expensive and funky. You know. So anyway, I'll tell you a little bit more about our campaign later and how you guys can be a part of our story. But essentially, I had this little, these little people made for a T-shirt, and we're giving these away as perks for the people that helped us raise. We raised $35,000. And actually, Coca-Cola sponsored part of it. I'll tell you more about that later. But I'm not good at graphics, so one of my friends made this. And I wasn't able to pull the graphic off, so anyway, you get to look at a beautiful T-shirt here. So that's the second story. The second story really, so this is you. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to discover your power and use it to help yourself, to help other people, and tell your story in a streamlined fashion. And the third one is who doesn't like pets, right? I figured if I'm boring up here, then you have a cute elephant to keep you. And I'll tell you a story about an elephant that was really impactful and that has actually changed my life and may change your life as well. So, before I tell this story about me, this is me, by the way. Do I look the same? Most Asian folks who look with you never can tell people. So that's me right there. There's a story behind that too. But anyway, that's my mom. She's a fashionista. And then I'll tell you a story about me growing up, and then how I discovered my voice, and then a story about Go Inspire Go. This is my team here. We're a bunch of us who just silly and crazy. So not all the same. But, okay, so Matt here is going to help us upload this video. Since we do videos about everyday people, somebody said, hey, you guys should make a video and tell people what you guys do via video. So I had one made, and then things change so much in this multimedia world. I'm going to show you the 50-50 campaign video because in a snapshot it tells my story. It tells a story about Go Inspire Go, how I was inspired to do it, the impact that we've made, and where we're going now. Okay. There are inspiring stories and inspiring people everywhere. Imagine if that person, that local hero in your community, finally gets the support and a spotlight on them that they need and deserve. Hi, I'm Tuan Lam. I'm the founder of Go Inspire Go. We're a multi-platform website that inspires you to discover and use your power to help others. What I want to do is cover 50 inspiring stories in 50 states. The idea is called 50-50. The goal is to travel to as many states as possible and also crowdsource stories from 50 states and uncover these local street corner style heroes, tell their authentic story, leverage social media to inspire you to act. They are extending their fire weather watch. I'm a former TV news reporter, and for about 8 years I brought stories of death and destruction, fires, shootings to people's living rooms. I remember one time in the newsroom there was a bus accident that broke out on the scanners, and I remember the producer saying, "How many kids were killed?" They were kind of sad that nobody was killed. And so that's when I realized that this career and this life really wasn't for me. I wanted to tell stories of inspiration and people helping each other. I heard that you did a really good thing for some kids in the hospital. So I gave up my TV career and focused 100% of my energies to telling inspiring stories. And I called this project to Go Inspire Go. And at first I thought if 5 people just help 5 others, I'd be so excited. Hundreds of thousands of people started watching. People from all corners of the world reached out and thought about what they could do and how they could use their power to help others. And I thought, hey, we have something here. There are so many amazing stories out there. There's a reverend from New Jersey who wanted to build a school in Haiti, and he needed money to send the kids to school. So we helped him raise enough money to send 32 kids to school for a year.
To feed hungry people.
There was 5-year-old Phoebe in San Francisco who was on a letter writing campaign to collect cans. She wanted to give the money to the food bank to feed hungry people. We helped her multiply her message, and in the end, we helped enable the food bank to give out 200,000 meals.
You had to see their faces. When they smile, that's, well, I always say, that's the way I get paid.
And no one can forget Jorge, the angel in Queens, New York. Thank you for just being you and doing what you're doing. Who every single night for the past decade has spent more than half of his salary cooking and packaging home-cooked meals, more than 150 of them every night, and giving them to people waiting at the subway stop. The Spungan family wanted to donate a refrigerator and stove, a brand new refrigerator and stove to you and your family.
These kind of things, they hold me on and push me to do what to do every day. So each one of the people that we profile symbolizes an action, a ripple, an example
of what's out there in the world. So it saves you 2 to 3 hours a day.
Yes.
Help us tell more stories like Reverend Alerte's, Phoebe's, and Jorge's stories. There are so many people that tell us they don't watch TV anymore because they don't want to see stories of death and destruction. Well, we can change that together. We're asking you to join us on this movement to inspire. So I told you guys as a kid, my mom wanted me to, be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, doctor, lawyer, engineer in that order. And I chose the fourth thing, which was failure in their eyes, because my mom was like, reporter, how you make money? We have no money for clothes. And I was like, it's not about clothes, it's about telling stories, about representing the community. And so, against their past, I just did my own thing. USF and paid most of my way and went there. And it was as a kid, I used to I love words. I love to read, and I love to write, and I love to talk. But again, I was supposed to be a quiet Asian boy in their eyes. And as a kid, I would read shampoo bottles in the shower. Rinse, lather, repeat. In my broadcaster voice as a kid, it wasn't as deep. It was before puberty. Rinse, lather, repeat. Rinse, lather, repeat. Like, who are you talking to in there? And I would read books like Amelia Bedelia and What Wild Things Are and Shel Silverstein and anything I could get my hands on, and I would pretend to be the characters. And for me, I felt like a large part of that helped keep me out of trouble too. And the situation that I was in when I was growing up. But it wasn't until I went to the University of San Francisco, and there was a teacher by the name of Carolyn Weber, who had a beautiful British accent, and she went to Oxford. By the way, I'm really bad at accents, if you guys don't know. She went to Oxford, and I just knew Oxford was a fancy school. The reason why I chose USF was because it was a private school, and I had heard about people going to private schools, and I'm like, I want to use that, and I want to go. And so, anyway, so I went here, and I was scared to death taking this creative writing, expository writing class from Miss Carolyn Weber, who's tall, blonde, beautiful, and she was getting her doctorate in romantic literature in Oxford. And I was so scared the first assignment. It was a snapshot of an autobiographical moment in your life. And I forget what I wrote about, but I handed the paper in, and I was all shaky. And then the next week I didn't really want to come to class because I thought she would rip me a new one. And she came up to me and she had a piece of paper and she handed it to me, and she goes, Tuan, lovely job. And she handed me the paper, and I can remember the perfect penmanship, red ink in the right side. She put, you're such a gifted and lively writer. I hope you do something with your talents, ? That really moved me because for the first time, somebody saw me. They saw my passion, and they recognized that. Even before my parents and friends, other people. Really up to no good, right? It was then on that I was like, you know what, I really want to do good. And I went into a TV career. Again, I told you guys, Wausau, Wisconsin, Midland, Texas, Fresno, all on their jobs. And then I went to station in San Francisco. And after doing these for about 8 years, as you saw, I was just sick and tired of death and destruction. So, along the journey, now I'm a voice for the voiceless. It's crazy how we've been able to tell people's stories. And at first, if 5 people help 5 others, I'd be so excited. And a few 100,000 people started watching, and now I'm talking to you guys. So I want to help you guys. I want to do an exercise with you guys right now that will help you guys discover your power. And how many of you guys think you pretty much know what your power is? I didn't in college. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was a hot mess. But how many of you guys think you know what your power is? Okay. You think you know what your power is? Really quickly, what's your power?
My power is to inspire and educate leaders.
Wow. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Chana. I'm a 2009 scholar, and mine is actually going into reporting because I love to tell stories and being a storyteller.
We both got top. Sure. Yes, thank you. So, students that take my class, they're, some of them have pulled me aside and said, you know what, Tuan, you're so passionate and you know your power. But I don't know what I'm passionate about. So, with all my classes, I do this exercise that I'm going to ask you guys to do with me, so bear with me. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Think about your bed, your comfortable bed. 5,000 thread count sheet, just kidding. You're in your comfortable bed, you've had a meal, you are not worried at all about where your next meal is coming from, bills, all the daily stresses, okay? It's dark, nobody is judging you, no eyes peering at you, good, and you've had restful sleep, 8 hours. And if you're like me, I like to drink tea, so I always like pee in the middle of the night, sorry, TMI. Anyway, so when you wake up in the morning, okay, keep your eyes closed. When you wake up in the morning, raise your hands, and I'll see you, so I won't judge you. I won't judge you. How many of you guys are excited to get up and do what you're doing? Go to your job, go to your class. Okay, raise your hands. Okay, so it's good. Wow, it's good. I think 50-50. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, you can open your eyes now. And if you aren't, you have to think about, why am I not doing it? You know, one of my best mentors told me, you got to find out what you love to do, your hobby, your passion, and you get paid for it. And that is the best job ever. You never feel like you work a day in your life. And that sounds so cliche, but it is so true. And you know, for me, power is one of my favorite words. And I love words, so it's hard to whittle it down to one word. But for me, power is just so powerful, right? No pun intended, actually. And I think that the root of power, okay, and power, and when I say power, I mean the thing that makes you itch, that makes you tick, that gets you excited, that lights you up. What I told you when you get out of bed, what lights you up. That's your power. Okay? And once you are able to discover it and use it to help other people, it's so rewarding. Okay? Okay, so one more story before I get into this other exercise about how to discover your power. There's a cute little elephant here that was tied to a stake by its mother. It's not this one. But there's a cute little elephant tied to its stake by its master. Okay, and there's a chain tied to a stake, and the elephant, as cute as ever, but the master always told the elephant that you're stupid, you're dumb, you're not going to amount to anything, you're powerless, and fill in the blanks of everything that somebody has told you or made fun of you about, okay? And so this elephant always felt very teeny, tiny, and never had a voice. And the elephant grew bigger and stronger, like smarter, but it still died on its stake when it got bigger and stronger. Even though it could just swung its tusk and escaped, it died on its stake because it never discovered its power. You know, and how many people never discover their power? Or how many people never discover that power and are able to tell that story? Okay? That was very uninspiring, by the way, but I tell you that to try to inspire you to discover your power and to tell it. So these are a few tips. It's really hard to, you know, since I teach this and I've written blogging classes, how to be an anchor, and reporter, and shooting, editing, writing, TV, and all that. So I try to whittle it down to a few bullet points. Every single story, this sounds so simple, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay? The beginning part, whether it's an elevator pitch, or you're writing an essay, or you're in an interview, the beginning part always has to have a hook or something that really sets you aside from other people. What makes you different and unique and special? And if you don't know what that is, ask people that you're close to, that you trust. Try to find that out, okay? And then the middle part is, you know, here's a couple of examples. Like with that video, a couple of examples was the mom that makes superhero capes for sick children. She made over 7,000 of them. Phoebe, who we helped through a letter writing campaign, and a not canned food, but aluminum can drive. We helped her feed over 200,000 families. So fill in like the examples, okay? Quick snapshots of the impact of whatever makes you special or makes your story special or unique. Then at the end, this is the problem that I feel like a lot of my students have, is that they don't have an end. And the end means what now, what next, okay? If you are networking with someone, here's my card, here's my website, please check it out. Or, oh, you're a graphic designer, can you check out my site? And, you know, email me with your thoughts. Or what I'll be asking you guys is, please share your stories of everyday heroes, because we're still on the road and trying to find heroes in your state, right? So the beginning, middle, end, that's essential. And so many people leave that out. Okay, you can tell a great story, but then at the end, if you don't tell them where to go or how to connect with you, it's not that good, right? That's not a good story. Second tip is the 5 W's: the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. And sometimes it's the how too. And this is what a lot of my students leave out. I would say 90% of the students leave out. It's one of these elements. Okay? If they don't know who you are, or what you're about, or where you're at, when this point of inspiration happened to you, or whatever that part of the story is, and why, it's something that we say a lot on TV is, why would the viewers care about the story you're covering today? Why, when there's so many videos out there? And the why is very important. And of course, sometimes it's the how as well. And the how, it ranges. And sometimes if, for example, one of my students is doing like a how to cook Asian food series, the how is super important because you need to tell people the recipe and how long to cook things and things like that. But also, when you guys are at interviews or doing an elevator pitch or just meeting people, it's like how should I help? How can I help you? And then like, why should I help you? And the last one is to share and be vulnerable, because I was never, my parents didn't want me to share stories. My mom would probably be super embarrassed if I told her about things that happened to us as kids. But I think every person, every situation that happens to you in life is a point of awakening, a point of consciousness to be better and do better. Right? What are you going to do with your power? When you figure that out, what you can do with your power, you can make money, you can be successful and all that, I invite you then to just like give it away. So once you give it away, and be vulnerable and to share, that's what we all kind of connect with, right? Because we've all been made fun of. We all have been afraid of public speaking at some point. We've all been, loved and dumped. Fill in dot, dot. Okay? So with that said, I wanted to end with one other really quick story. It's a story about my father. Don't talk too much about my father because we didn't really have that good of a relationship as a kid. And he died of stomach cancer in 2000. And I was at my first job in Wausau, Wisconsin. Almost filled my 1-year contract, and my brother called me and said, "Dad has stomach cancer." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm coming home, first flight, to assess the situation." So I came home, and the first thing he said to me was, "Why aren't you a doctor? What are you doing there in the cold, making very little money?" I was making $20,000 a year, and that's what he said. And that was still it is still a big blow to me today, because then he passed away without us ever reconciling that. And I feel like, that, even though it's a kind of non-inspiring story, inspired me in a way. That situation taught me that, well, now I need to prove to him that my voice, that he hasn't seen this side of me, and that my voice does matter. But he told my sister this thing, because my dad was very inspiring. He always tried to save like pigeons with broken wings in the street. He was a mechanic eventually, and he would fix people's cars, spent so many hours fixing people's cars. Sometimes he wouldn't charge them because they couldn't afford it, because they were in the same situation as we were when they first came to America or whatever. But he told my sister something that I wanted to share with you guys. He said, Lynn's my sister. She said, "Lynn, before you die, please share the music in your heart with the world, because that's your responsibility." And we all have this music inside our heart, so it's your responsibility to share that. And it may not come out in music, because we were too poor to have pianos and violins and such, but this is a way for me to share my music with you guys, and I'm very honored to be here, and I hope that in a way you guys are able to take a little morsel of what I've taught you guys and go on and tell your story, because when you tell your story, you'll start attracting more stories. So, thank you.